Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's video is an exciting video. I accomplished something that's pretty amazing. This is a Toyota video. Black 3/4 swap Toyota pickup and tricolor, blue green, whatever you want to call them. So quick recap, I didn't film any of the stuff that I did with my black 3/4 Toyota. 3 weeks ago, I drove all the way up north, 6-hour drive. But more like a 12-hour trip. I picked up this black Toyota 92 X Cab 3.0 5-speed. Drove it onto the trailer, got it home, drove it to the driveway. It ran really horrible. Compression test 3.0 was done. Pulled that motor out, had a baby, went to the hospital, ordered a bunch of parts in the meanwhile. Came back home from the hospital, put this engine back together. This is the fastest I've ever done a 3/4 swap. Even when I had a baby. This is crazy. It was super time crunch. Had a big shout out to my wife for putting up with me. But yeah, this is the fastest I've ever done a 3/4 swap. Less than 3 weeks, guys. Everything was done in 3 weeks. Now, with that said, yesterday was the official first start. We got the truck started. Ran's great. I've already put about almost 200 miles onto the black 3/4 swap. Now that motor is out of the 2000 Tacoma manual that I bought from Copart, which is a very, very good setup. The harness, the ECU is a good setup. Super amazing. So didn't film the first start, but basically what we did is homeboy John, he's a 3/4 Toyota guru. He's one of my mentor on my 3/4 swap journey, so I've learned a lot of stuff from him. So yesterday John came by with his car dolly, and we dollied the black Toyota up to his place, to his shop, because he has a lift and he's very good at building the exhaust system. So John helped me build the exhaust system. And after that, we did the first start. It ran really crappy. It was like, it was hesitating, and we're like, man, it sounds like a misfire, and it was a misfire. So what happened was, when I was pulling the 3/4 motor out of the donor rig, I pulled the coil packs, and then I kept the coil packs with the spark plug wires attached to them. And then when I went to install it back onto this truck, I just installed them, and then I went off of the wire length. Now you have to know, you're supposed to know which cylinder goes to which cylinder. Like cylinder 135 is on the passenger side, cylinder 246 is on the driver's side. One goes to this section, etc., etc. So I had my coils all messed up, and we're like, man, we let it ran for about 5 minutes. We're like, man, why is it like the engine was shaking? We knew it wasn't normal because we're familiar with these engines. John's familiar with it. We're like, let it run for a little bit, and then John was like, let's check out your spark plug wires. We made sure they were nice and tucked, and then we're like, all right, let's check the pattern, because most likely the pattern was off. And yes, it was off. So we fixed it, and it ran amazing. So I drove the truck home from John's place, and then John drove my blue truck too, because I drove my blue truck to his place. And then John drove my truck home, and then I drove John back home, and then I drove the black truck back home. So with just by doing those 3 loops, that was over 100 miles, and it's been running great, guys. It runs good, no issues. It had an issue where the wipers wasn't working, so the windshield wiper wasn't working. I was like, oh no, the wiper motor's probably out, and then also the windshield squirter wasn't working. I'm like, oh man, maybe it's the switch too that's out. So I was super hesitant because I didn't want to do all that work. And then I went and double checked the 20 amp fuse for the wiper by the kick panel. It was still good, but then I went ahead and replaced it with a different 20 amp, and for some reason it started working again. So that worked out fine. And then we also had another issue where, and again, this is the first time driving this truck since it's been bought from the 6-hour trip, that long journey that we did. One of the taillights wasn't working on the passenger side, or one of the brake lights, the running lights and brake lights. The running lights was working, but one of the brake lights on the passenger side wasn't working. I don't know what it was. I swapped the tail light housing, and then I cleaned it. I checked for voltage, and then I swapped out the bulbs, and then I swapped the bulbs again, and then it finally worked. So I don't know what it was. I did went ahead and remove the trailer harness and all that stuff. So everything's all good now. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys a little walk around on the black Toyota. So without further ado, that's the blue Yoda 1990, and that is the black Yoda 1992. Give you guys a quick comparison on the black Yoda. Very, very similar on black Yoda and teal Yoda. I just did a few more expensive things on the black Yoda. You can see right there. So we're not gonna talk about green Yoda here, blue Yoda. We'll move on to this black Toyota here. So 5-speed. We did went ahead and delete the AC system. AC system got deleted. Don't want to deal with that. Cruise control got deleted. We did kept the catalytic converter. I usually delete the catalytic converter, but now we are keeping the catalytic converter on these rigs. Just an easier setup. So the engine got a full top end rebuild, timing belt overhaul, heads resurfaced, new spark plugs, new seals. Every seal you can think of on this engine has been replaced. Just all new stuff. Has a brand new radiator. This is the Champion 3-row. This is the cold air intake from Toy Only Swap. The radiator was also bought through Toy Only Swap. The battery tray, there's a battery tray right here, and the evap mount, this is Toy Only Swap. And then this intake manifold here, you guys see how shiny and how clean it is? This is from Toy Only Swap. And this one, they went ahead and shaved the intake. So they shaved it in 3 different sections so that this intake sits 1/8 shorter than what it originally does. So since we bought the shaved intake, we don't need to do body lift. We don't need to cut the hood brace. We don't have to worry about anything rubbing. Now on blue Yoda, it has the stock intake, but for some reason it doesn't rub, so I haven't dealt with that anyways, or anything like that. Blue Yoda also has the ECU gun box, where we locate the gun box right here. I decided to put the ECU back into its position just for a cleaner look. So the 3.4 ECU does fit into the firewall panel where the 3.0 originally is. There's no way to mount it, but it just sits nice and firm in there. What else do I do? That's pretty much it right there. Just a very simple setup. 3.0 power steering hose are used. 3.4 alternator. This is the fuel return line right here. Fuel return line goes back to the fuel pressure regulator. This is the fuel evap. This is the fuel vapor line. This usually goes onto your charcoal canister on your 3.0. So this goes and gets looped right to the evap right here. I also like to put this little mount right there. That's part of the evap system. I just put it right into a 10 mil. Make it really nice and clean. I also like to use those little piece right here. You guys see those pieces? Those hold the harness in place. The harness and also the crossover and the exhaust system was all built by John. Like I said, John's the expert. This coolant bottle is also from Toy Only Swap. This one you have to change the. You can't use the 3.0 coolant bottle because it won't fit with their battery system tray. So that's the reason why. The fan clutch is a 3.4 fan clutch, but the fan itself is a 3.0 fan. There's 2 different fans for the 3.0. This is the fan style, and then there's the one that's like a fan, but it's called the round style. So the round style is the older version. So John gave me one of these newer versions. So these are a bit more nicer. They balance a bit better. You can see the timing belt. I replaced that at 238 and 297. Very, very nice. Toy Only Swap. With the purchase of the intake manifold, they do give you a new throttle bracket, but for some reason that throttle bracket doesn't work with this throttle body. There wasn't enough clearance, so it was hitting it. So I went ahead and used the stock bracket from this from this engine, and there is no modification needed. So on the other version, sometimes you have to hammer it and bend it down. You can see that's what I did on this setup. This one usually sits up more, and you kind of have to hammer it. So for this setup here, this throttle body, I didn't have to do any of that stuff, so that's pretty nice. Went in there real good. Throttle body has been cleaned when I pulled it out. I also cleaned the IAC and put new gaskets. So there it is, super sweet. The hoses, new heater hoses, all new hoses right there. New radiator hoses as well. This for this 3/4 swap, you can use the stock 3/4 radiator hose. You can just get a new one while you're there. So there it is. You can see the water pump, all that's been replaced. Water pump, oil filter, all that's been changed. I'll probably do a 500-mile oil filter change once we get to our 500 mark. We did put a new clutch in here. The clutch is a Asen clutch. So Asen clutch with a 3.4 flywheel, Toyota rear main seal, front main seal, 3/4 pilot bearing. Pilot bearing is the same for 3.4 and 3.0. I also got a new battery for it. When I bought the truck came with a battery where the positive terminal is on this side, and the hood wasn't closing because it was hitting these terminals. So I just went ahead and bought a new battery. So the correct battery that you need is a 24F, and your terminals will be over here, positive and negative. You don't want to have your positive terminals near the firewall because it might touch the metal and arc and stuff like that. So you want to make sure your positive is always towards this way. Also found out that the Champion radiator, these are aluminum radiators, you must use green coolant. So you can't use none of that Toyota red. So you have to use green coolant because I think there was some issues with people using red and it was corroding it. So this is my first time trying this this radiator system. Hopefully it works well, and we'll see how long that lasts. This setup here, we have a plastic radiator, and this one is from AutoZone. So there it is. I'm sure you guys are all waiting, so let's go ahead and give it a little start. Before we start this vehicle, let me show you guys the exhaust system. This truck here and this truck here, they both have the same exhaust system. Downpipe goes to a MagnaFlow cat converter right there. All of the piping are 2.5-inch piping. So it goes to a MagnaFlow cat converter, and then it goes up into a Flowmaster 50 series, same muffler on these two trucks, and then it just comes out to a regular basic tailpipe. Very simple tailpipe right there. So both of these are the same exhaust system. They both sound just alike, and they sound really good. 127 miles so far since I done the swap. When I bought this truck, it also had a full tank of gas, and from the previous owner, he told me that it's been sitting all winter, so this gas was probably over 6 months old. I'm gonna go ahead and keep driving this vehicle until we burn all that fuel, and then I'll go ahead and put some new fresh fuel in there. So maybe another 150 miles and we should be on the E. There it is. She runs good. Has the factory radio. One thing that's kind of nice is that the factory radio, or at least this truck, it still has the antenna. The antenna still comes up and down when you press the power button. So look how cool that is. Pretty sweet. There it is, 5-speed. Manual locking front hubs. If you want to go to 4-wheel drive, these are brand new right here. Less wear and tear on your CV axle. Brand new tires, 265 Cooper 16s.